Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey folks, we are back. It's Inside Real Estate with Mike Kruziniga. Website InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. We're here with Jared Benson of Perma Pier Foundation Repair of Texas. You know, look folks, foundation repair is just a permanent part of what we have to deal with here in the DFW Metroplex as homeowners. And so, you know, we're always talking to Jared about tips and tricks of, you know, what to do to avoid it, but if you need it, how to deal with it. And today we're going to be talking about plumbing as it relates to foundation repair. And so, you know, Jared, how are we doing?
I'm doing great, Mike. Good morning. Thanks for having me back again. I always enjoy being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I always enjoy learning and getting schooled by Mr. Jared here. So let's talk how plumbing relates to it.
Yeah, plumbing. So when people have foundation repair performed, it's a big ticket item. It really is. You know, an average repair is going to be a couple of grand at least. There are bigger ones. There are smaller ones.
Sure.
But what a lot of people fail to think about and fail to realize is that when the foundation repairs have been done and the crew leaves the house, that's not when your problems always stop. We always like it when, you know, that's all the customer has to deal with and there's nothing after the fact. You know, they have a past plumbing test, but that's not always the case. So we're talking about plumbing, and I said a past plumbing test. The reason what we're going to talk about is so important today is because of what all foundation repair companies have in their fine print. No matter what an evaluator tells you or what the contract says you're getting, if you look at the foundation repair company's fine print, they're going to tell you if there's a plumbing leak, it could very possibly void your warranty. So some companies, the ones you don't want to work with, they're not going to tell you about a plumbing test. They're not going to mention plumbers. They're going to get in and get out, and they're never going to say anything about plumbing. And you're going to call them back 2-3 years later, and you're going to say, hey, please come back out and look at my house. They're going to say, please have a plumbing test done first. And then you're going to have a leak, maybe. And then they're going to tell you that there's no warranty anymore. Most companies that, you know, Mike, that you have heard of, that you've seen around, people who work in the real estate arena, they're not going to do that. They are going to make sure their clients have a plumbing test performed or know that they should have a plumbing test performed.
Right.
They might leave it up to the client, or they might actually schedule it, include it in the bid, but it's just a plumbing test. So you get that plumbing test done, and it's either going to pass or it's going to fail. If it passes, you should be good to go. You have a valid warranty, and you're going to be A-okay, at least for now. And that's how Perma Pier does it. We actually require you to have a past plumbing test before we even tell you there's a valid warranty, because we don't want to misrepresent it and tell you, oh, you've got a warranty because we did repairs, when you haven't repaired a leak yet.
Right.
We're going to require that leak to be repaired before we come back out, do adjustment work or something like that.
Sure.
So it protects you or maybe your buyers in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how often does that happen is really, people here, it's like, oh, well, okay, this is why I want it done, but how does it affect me? I got a little bit of bad news, Mike. About 30% of homes that have foundation repairs are also going to need plumbing repairs.
Okay.
So if you can do some quick math in your head, what's the good news? Yeah, some people like that joke. Some people
right.
don't.
Like most everybody doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, so about 70% of homes aren't going to have any problems as it relates to plumbing after the fact.
Right.
And the next question that a lot of realtors like to ask when, you know, they're going to have to recommend a plumbing company to come out and do work, or a foundation repair company, whichever comes first, is how often does foundation repairs cause the plumbing? And that's a good question because it can happen. Mm-hmm. Improperly lifting a foundation definitely can cause a plumbing issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they overlift, if they lift somewhere they shouldn't lift or something like that. But even a properly executed lift and a stabilized foundation, everything done perfectly, can still cause a plumbing issue. But that's not the only way plumbing issues are caused. A foundation settling over the course of 10 years, slowly crushing an old cast iron pipe, that can cause a plumbing issue. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes the cast iron pipe has actually sprung a leak, or a root has intruded, and there's leaks, and the leaks can cause a foundation issue. So we don't always know which one came first, whether it was the plumbing leak that caused it, the foundation issue that caused the plumbing leak, or the lift that caused it. But that is what, that's about 30% of homes. And then people are like, well, people like to ask very specific questions. What about my house? What about this? What about that? You got to kind of use common sense. If someone tells you that he's guaranteeing that you won't have a plumbing issue, you should get a second opinion.
Yeah, because there's no guarantees.
There's no guarantees
in life, much less this.
Yeah, much less, I promise you, in foundation repair. So the next thing is, well, where's your problem at? What type of sewer system or plumbing lines do you have? How big is your issue? Just to give you extreme examples, if you have a half-inch drop in your garage where there's no plumbing lines, you're very unlikely to have a plumbing issue after the fact. If you have a 3-inch drop next to your sink or your kitchen or your bathroom or plumbing lines or a sink or a toilet, and you have an old cast iron system, cast iron, they kind of started phasing it out around 1980. You might still have it early 80s, most likely not. Anything older than that, you're likely to have cast iron or clay maybe for a few years, but those systems are much more likely to be brittle and break if the issues are in areas that have those type of systems. So 3-inch drop in the kitchen with an old PVC system or where the line exits, you're a lot more likely to have a plumbing issue.
Yeah, because let's talk about some of the basics here. We're talking about plumbing, and people think, plumbing, it's a big deal, and of course it is, but when we're talking about the actual materials that take care of our plumbing, bringing the water in or taking the water out as wastewater, these materials, they're not bulletproof, let's say.
Yeah, especially that the outtake, the sewer lines.
Exactly, and they're going through our slab. We're talking about most of these homes are going to be on a slab, so they're going through the slab. So they're already under a bit of pressure anyway, as they're going through the slab, connecting underground, and so they're under pressure anyway. And then you take the natural shifting that we have around our foundation to begin with.
That's right.
Which is every, summer and winter, there's extreme temperatures. And then we go and apply foundation repair to it and jack up maybe one side or multiple sides, try to level out additional pressures. So it's kind of obvious, looking at it in one aspect, you'd almost expect for something
exactly
to cause the plumbing to go ahead and deteriorate. It's already deteriorated over time anyway. You'd almost expect a plumbing leak, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely, and definitely in older homes, like you're saying, with cast iron, it's very common.
Yeah. Now if you're in a pier and beam home, obviously a totally different story.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the same issues all of us slab owners have.
Yeah, and what's really cool about the pier and beam homes is even though with certain repair types, a company's still going to want a plumbing test, you can visually inspect most of that plumbing when you're under there.
Right.
And tell.
You can see it.
And I've actually been under a house where I didn't need the test to tell me there was a leak because someone flushed it when I was under there. So,
surprise.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason that the underside wasn't drying out. Yeah.
That's right.
So definitely pier and beams, it's less likely, it's less common that there are plumbing leaks. It's certainly less likely that any sort of foundation repairs or foundation movement caused the plumbing leaks.
Right.
But positive is you can actually see most of the piping and see where it may or may not be.
Yeah. And whereas a slab, you just can't see it.
Yeah.
Unless you dig it up.
And that kind of gets to what we might talk quickly just about how the plumbing repairs work is they do the test and that just tells them if there's a leak or if there's not a leak. But if there is, they have to go in and figure out where the leaks are and what's going to take to repair. And those services aren't free. They generally have to, run a camera through your plumbing lines, the sewer line at least, to figure out where the leaks are visually. So it's time consuming. An average 2,000 square foot home could take anywhere from 3.5 to 6 hours with a guy using a camera that's running through all your plumbing system. And that's plumbing's not cheap. It generally runs about $100 an hour. And that's just to tell you what's wrong with your house. So it can be a frustrating process, especially for homeowners who aren't prepared for it and don't understand how it works and everything. So
yeah, absolutely. It just goes to show folks, when you do need foundation repair, and look, most of us, our homes are going to need it at some point and in their lifetime. My home, 40 something years old, and a lot of us are in those 40-something-year-old homes or 30-something-year-old. You'd be surprised. You think about a house. Oh, it was only built in 85, Well,
that's 30 years
85,
old.
Yeah.
31.
It's older than we think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then what about the folks that live in those subdivisions that's built in the 50s and 60s?
Yeah, I'm in a 55. I did that math. My home is more than twice my age.
Right.
So.
Exactly. So look, and with our soil conditions here, we're going to have foundation repair, but it's paramount that you pick the right company.
Yeah.
And so talking about plumbing and understanding plumbing like your company does is extremely important, because you don't want to just fix one issue to have another issue.
That's right. Yeah, we started a plumbing company about 3.5 years ago because we just couldn't find a plumber that we liked and thought we took good care of our clients. So we offer a whole package in one. We can do the foundation and the plumbing. No one's required to use our plumbing company if they don't like us or they don't want to use it for some reason. But we feel like it's the best option for most customers to get be able to deal with the same company for the whole aspect.
The whole process.
That's right.
Yeah, I would agree. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I think we've got some good information out there about the plumbing side of things to folks. Folks, by the way, if you need foundation repair, you just need a check on foundation repair. Maybe you need that plumbing check. Permapier.com is the website.
Yep. You can reach us at 214-637-1444. Or permapier.com. You can even schedule appointments online with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Just let them know you heard it on the radio, and they will get you taken care of. Folks, another great segment with Perma Pier Foundation Repair of Texas and Jared Benson. Hey, Inside Real Estate folks, come on back in a few.